right? So you want to pull up that PowerPoint?
Yeah, and it also just prompted me to let you know that messages in the chat are recorded as well, in case that's... But here we go.
All right, so we'll put up this PowerPoint in the materials too, in the orientation folder. And like we said, we're going to record it and hopefully post it. But we just kind of want to go through this. So this first screen is basically welcome to the Professional Cooking Baking Service vision statement. So you'll hear our program is called ProCBS a lot of times. That's just basically shortened for that long name we don't like to say all the time. So if you see things about that, we kind of sat down and talked about this, and it's kind of important to Chef and myself. TCD will be a leader in providing an exciting and challenging high school experience centered in professional cooking, baking, and service. This winning team will practice the LEARN playbook, which we'll show you what that is. It's just basically a fun little thing that we put words together to come up with that, you know. So much younger pictures of the two of us here. So we need to change those, but we just like to live in the past. So I've actually been teaching here now for 20 years. It's crazy as it can be. And I was a chef in the industry before that. Chef Nooner actually was one of my students, one of my first couple years. So he actually went through the program here and then went to the, you know, and add me in as an instructor. So you will hear a lot more about him too. But he then
yeah. So overall, I think what that tells you is we're just big believers in TCD. If you've got an instructor sticking around for 20 years, you got to think that he's confident in what we're doing here. It's a good place. It's a good facility. And then if you have an alumni returning to work with, it just we're believers in what we're doing here is all I'm getting at.
All right, so we're not going to read all these right now, but we do have some guiding principles that we try to instill into the students. You know, it's something that we believe in and they believe in, and I tell them that, you know, they can say it to us too. You know, one of my favorite ones is attitudes are contagious, is yours worth catching. Sometimes early in the morning, I'm not a morning person. If I'm a little grumpy, hey, if they want to come to me and say, you know what, Chef, attitudes are contagious, is yours, you know what? Hey, we believe in it, you know? So these are just some things that we kind of believe in, and we kind of instill. We try to our whole goal, like Chef said, is to build a community, build a family here. That's what we're trying to do. Just a few more.
I think one of the bigger takeaways from this screen, and we'll reinforce it in the future here, is the professionally. Think, dress, talk, and act professionally. What separates us here at TCD is kind of just this professional environment we're trying to instill, and the moment the students can kind of get on board with that is when we start to really see some big impact. So whether it's the uniform, the pride we take in the maintaining the kitchen, those things all go into that kind of just professionalism, and really it's what separates us from the classes they could take back at the home schools, right? So we're 4 periods traditionally, or a half a day devoted to coming to TCD. So what are we doing that really makes us special? And one of those things is we believe in is our professionalism. So
these are just some of the major program focuses. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about these, but some of these are going to be obviously at times maybe a little bit more difficult to do this year because of how the settings, but we are working with the schools to figure out, especially when it comes to dual credit, how much we're going to be able to offer and do, because students are really going to be here as of right now only 2 days a week instead of 5. So, but we do have COD, College of DuPage and Joliet Junior College, dual credit, and a lot of that credit can be transferred to other schools, which we'll talk about a lot of those. One of the questions parents ask all the time is, are you going to give some advice about college and post-secondary and stuff? Yes and yes. We have actually a day where this year it's going to be virtual, but we have all these different schools that come in and they talk about their school and program and offer those kind of things. We do scholarships, all those kinds of stuff. We are certified. We're the only school in Illinois that is certified through the American Culinary Federation. So they had to come in and do a whole big, huge thing of our program where they looked through curriculum, they looked at the teachers, they looked at our facility, they do all this stuff, and they say if we're able to offer their certification. So students have the opportunity to earn their first, kind of like a doctor or a CPA, where they'll have letters behind their names. Same similar kind of idea that we can give a student. Okay. So they can actually walk out with a few letters after their name when they leave us. This is that learn process. So, the idea of lecture, experiment, which is labs, kitchen stuff, assessment, obviously can be hands-on, it can be written, it can be verbal. And then we're big on the reflect. Okay, so what could we have done? What did you learn? What could we do different? And then lure wasn't a good word, so we put N on there, and what's next, So that's kind of the idea. Now, lecture can come in many ways too. We are never going to probably, especially in the world we're in now, for many reasons. One, students just don't learn as well that way. Spend an hour sitting and lecturing on something, unless it's maybe like one example would be we have the opportunity to offer a Surf Safe food manager's license, which is through the state. That I have to do certain, and that won't even be that much lecture, but we don't really believe in just that. So we'll do videos, we'll do short videos, as you may have seen already, trying to keep them within 3 to 5 minutes, even a lot of them, demoing recipes, stuff like that. So
yeah, and one of the major components, as Chef mentioned, the reflection, the ability, even for in class today, we were doing knife cuts, and the students say, "How am I doing?" And I said, "Well, let's reflect together. Let's have you take a look at this," and you can pretty much instantly say, "Is a cube or is a dice a dice?" You don't need me there to say how you're doing. I can certainly show you how to get there, but as the student, if you did well. And I think a lot of our students, I don't want to say aren't successful in the traditional classroom, but this classroom where our results are almost immediate. The moment you make the cookie or it comes out of the oven, if you were successful or not. So that kind of reflection and that component is really big on us.
So this is some quick information, and as we figure out how it's going to go on, you will hear a lot more about it. Dual credit is basically where a student, if you don't know what that means, a student is enrolled in our program and also at the same time would be enrolled in college credit. There are no extra costs. Students must maintain a C or better in our program, and that to maintain that. We do not want to start a student off on their college credit for sure with a lower grade than a C. So we do determine whether a student is eligible. There is also you've probably received some things in the mail which are a little bit confusing to you, and they probably should be at this point, about testing and stuff for JJC. And a lot of that stuff will happen as we go along, depending on how much and if we're going to be able to offer what, the dual credit, whatever kind of dual credit it might be. As of right now, we will have some dual credit. I know that College of DuPage, we can do like I said, their Surf Safe class, which we don't offer to everybody. It's kind of like a class that if somebody wants to enroll in, but that is how dual credit kind of works. And then it just talked about kind of some of the classes. In the past, we've been able to offer 6 college credits from Joliet. So I have to continuously talk with them and figure out if we're going to be able to do that. I know in the chat, somebody asked a question about some of these certifications. They've changed the rules where you don't have to necessarily be a 2-year student, but there is some extra material that you have to do guided outside of school time. And as we get into it more, we will talk about that. But they have a requirement for a certain amount of nutrition, a certain amount of sanitation, certain amount of different things that they have to earn. And then there is a hands-on practical and a written practical at the end of the year for this. And we don't judge that or administrate that. We have chefs in the industry come in and do that for them. So like I said, we're going to have to be very fluid with all of this. Unfortunately, last year at the end, we were not able to offer this because of students just not being able to be allowed in the building. My hope is with the rules that we are seeing that we are in the building some, we're going to be able to. But it's something that is hopefully going to be there at the end. And then there's some pictures of some other certifications. You're right now, actually 1, 2, 3 of them. You want to go back, Chef? Your students should already be working on or completed with. If they have not done the allergy training, the SB2 safety training, and we just assigned this Monday the food handlers training, we would need your help to help us get that done. These are things we are supposed to have done before they go into class, into the kitchen. We have stretched the rules a little bit when they first came back because, we haven't had the ability to be in school, so we didn't want to pull them out and say, hey, you didn't get this done. But this is something that they've heard about for weeks on their remote learning. So when we get to how to check their grades and things like that, you can probably stay on top of it. I think that's one of the things that we ask for the parents the best is that we love to have parents that are supporting us because we want to support you and the student to be successful. That's our goal. Our goal is not to see anybody not succeed in our program. And usually, for the most part, our students do succeed because they want to be here and they want to get stuff done. So. This is just some more opportunity. ProStart is through the National Restaurant Association. I don't know how some of this stuff is going to happen. Quick story from last year, which was kind of sad. We won. We competed in a cooking and a management competition at the state level, and we won the state, which we usually do very well at the state. We have won many years, and then we get to go to nationals. Last year, nationals was supposed to be in Washington, D.C., and we were supposed to have a week-long trip to D.C. and compete against all these different other states and even like Department of Defense from different countries, and they canceled the whole thing. So the students, unfortunately, didn't get that opportunity, which kind of stunk. So they're talking about doing some of this virtual this year, maybe. So once we hear some of this information, we will put it on Schoology and start to tell the students again. If you have not have the ability to get on Schoology, or you do not have the ability to get our Remind, which I know there's a couple ways to get Remind. I know my daughters have it, and I don't really like the daily remind thing, but you can do a weekly like summary so you don't get like 40. We try not to send out a million things, but for the students, it's kind of important to stay on top of them a little bit more. So
I just posted the text instructions. Once you text that, it'll prompt you to download an app. You can be part of it without the app or with the app. If you download the app, you then have access to more features as far as receiving reminders via email or via text or both, or daily or hourly, or as he said, a summary. So that number there, text at 422 blah blah blah. If you're not already a part of it, we sent out invitations at the beginning of the year to all the cell phones that we had on file. If you did not receive an invitation, I apologize, but we simply sent them to the numbers we had on file here at TCD. A lot of times there might be a breakdown, unfortunately, of communication between the homeschools and TCD. So this is one way we can really bridge that gap and get directly to you. So if you're not part of that, I'd highly encourage it, just because of that kind of 3-step process that we're trying to bypass.
as far as scholarships go, yes, we do post them as they come in. There is, through some of the websites that we put, like the restaurant the NRAEF and the Illinois Restaurant Association, there are a lot of scholarships. We tend to later in the year offer the students the ability to meet with us on probably this year it'll be a Google Meet instead of a in-person at night, to help them go through some of that stuff. So yes, we are posting things all the time. So that's one of our biggest things, is that students don't take advantage of a lot of those things.
And I would say that this year in particular, there will be, it seems to me, this is just me saying, that there's going to be more scholarship or potential grants available to students simply because the schools are maybe struggling for enrollment and are looking to find ways to encourage students to come. So if you see scholarship opportunities and you think maybe it's not the school I'm interested in, a lot of times they might even have kind of reciprocating offers from one school to the other. So if you are someone who's crafty when it comes to kind of piecemealing the cost of this education together, there are certainly opportunities to be had for free money, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, every year we've had some students that come pretty close of paying off a lot of their students' loan. And what we tell the students a lot of times is, it's not like you had to be the greatest test taker in the past. As long as you are working hard in our class, that means a lot. And the culinary schools are different than maybe some of the, bigger universities at times, just because they're not yes, if you have a great SAT score, that's going to help, but that doesn't mean you got to discourage you from applying to. So please do not. I know students get shut down, and we talk to them all the time, like, where they're looking for the big number. Well, you know what? We tell them, if I threw $100 bill on the floor in the kitchen, how many of them would be, wrestling to try to get it? It would be a lot. How much do you make per hour? And they're like, I make like $10 an hour or whatever. Well, how many hours did you have to work to do that? It takes an hour to fill out a form. Yeah, you might not get that one, but if you fill out 10 of them, guess what? You might get something. So, and most of them are identical when it comes to it. So, I think that's a huge thing that parents can help with too, because I know that school is not cheap. So, ask Chef Nooner; he's still paying his student loans.
I almost went 24 hours without thinking about it. Thanks.
All right, phone and electronic device policy. This hopefully won't be a problem. We don't like to be the phone police, We don't have a problem with the students holding on to their phone as long as they don't take it out and aren't using it when they shouldn't be. We actually invested last year into some phone lockers in our program where we have like the little lockers where they can put them in and actually put a charger in there and charge them while they're going, because a lot of them like to put them in places and charge them. And then unfortunately, not everybody is so honest, and then things get removed. So we tell them to keep things on them or lock them in those lockers. We will have times where if we're working on something where they're doing something sitting down and they're working, they can listen to music in their ears. We have music that actually we play in the kitchen during certain times, you know, that everybody can listen to. There might be times that because phones are good in a lot of ways. They just get, unfortunately, there's too much maybe Snapchatting and all those things that I don't know about. But we do want the students to take pictures of their food. We actually have, and I wish I could show you right now, we have a little place that you can, like a picture
photo booth,
like a booth that they can put plates of their food and take pictures, and we want them tweeting those out and doing all that kind of fun stuff. All right, one of the biggest questions always is, where does my grade come from? We've kind of divided it up into simply 4 quarters. Those quarters are simply homework, which can contain a lot of things. It doesn't mean it's just at home. It just means they're usually smaller projects, and there's lots of them throughout the year. So those could be like, lately they've been watching these short little videos and doing like a little 3-question quiz or something on it. That kind of falls into that category. Things like the reflection paper that we talk about, those fall under there. So there are things that are smaller projects. Tests, quizzes, and a binder. We do have a binder that we are going to give the students where they're going to keep all their recipes, all their notes. And the most important thing about that binder is to start teaching them how to be organized more. And it actually builds a portfolio for them, because they can have a recipe, and then if they take a picture, they can put a picture behind it. And now this is something that they can start building, you know, a portfolio. I still have these kind of things from, you know, man, I don't want to date myself, but 20 plus years ago or more, right? That I still go to and see recipes that when I was in culinary school. So that's kind of there. Tests and quizzes, they are for sure always aware of when something is coming up. We don't have, you know, a ton of those at times, but there will be things that they have to just learn. Hands-on practical. That'll be, for example, we'll spend a couple weeks on knife cuts, and then they might do a hands-on practical for them. Now, we know where the students are at. We're not looking for perfection when it comes to these hands-on practicals. We're just looking on, do they know how to hold the knife properly? Do they know how to sharpen a knife properly? Do they know how to do what a julienne cut is? Okay. Not whether or not they make the perfect julienne right now. It took me working at a place and the chef throwing, you know, hundreds and thousands of potatoes at me before I became very good at cutting with a knife, right? So these are things that they have to constantly just be doing. And we hope that maybe at home we tell the students their homework a lot of times is they should be cooking for you guys. That's what we believe. Baking and cooking for you. Because the hands-on part, we can show them one time. We can do it in class a couple times, but they're really not going to get very good at it unless they constantly do it. Okay? And that especially
themselves.
What?
And clean up after themselves too. And that.
Oh yeah. That's really important. So they shouldn't.
My
11-year-old took up baking
to clean the kitchen at home.
Yeah, my 11-year-old took up baking this summer, which was fantastic. Other than that, I eat way too many brownies and cookies and stuff at home because when they come out of the oven. But she did not understand the point of cleaning for a while until I had to explain to her that if we're going to make cookies, you're going to clean it all too. So, but she's getting a little better at it as we go. And then professionalism is probably the one that is that we use. We have a daily grade sheet that we're going to show you. Actually, let's pull that up right now, Chef, and then we can go back to some of this other stuff. All right, it might be kind of hard to see this right now, but basically what it is there is, every day they're in class, they're going to have one of these sheets. And at the end of class, they're going to have to bring it to us. We have not started this yet, but it will start very soon. So at the end of class, they bring the sheet up to us, and we are going to grade them on, are they in proper uniform? Are they, for the gentleman, usually shaven? Is hair pulled back and tied up? Is their uniform clean? We understand if we're making tomato sauce and they got splatters of tomato sauce on it, okay, not a big deal. But if we made tomato sauce the day before or the day before that, and now they got tomato sauce that's turning like multi-colors because it's starting to grow mold and everything else, big problem, right? Okay, so we're going to, we also judge, what, if they take their uniform and they roll it in a ball and throw it in their book bag or their locker, and they come in looking like a wrinkly mess, well, guess what? We have an iron and an ironing board in our school that we teach the students how to iron, okay? Because we want them to look professional, all right? Did they work in class? It doesn't mean they did the best, like I said, knife cuts, but did they try? Are they constantly trying to improve? Are they working on keeping their station clean? If we ask them to go do something, like help somebody else maybe get something cleaned up or whatever, and they are like, yes, chef, not a problem, they're going to score very high on these things. Most of our students do really well in this category, okay? So this is one of those categories that we use to help pull up maybe the student that is struggling a little bit in some of those other categories, okay? We do ask if a student is going to not be there on the day they physically are supposed to be there. They are supposed to call or email us, not you, not the parents. The parents, they can call the homeschool and do whatever there. We're trying to teach those professionalism skills, right? If they have a job, mom, dad, grandma, whoever doesn't call in Billy to work. Okay, Billy picks up the phone and calls Billy's into work, right? Okay, and we talk to him about, what, if you know you're going to be sick the night before, call or email us and just say, I'm going to be sick, and things are fine with that. Okay, kind of get the understanding of that. There are other things, obviously, like if they are using their phone when they're not supposed to be. Trying to think what else, Chef Nooner, what else might fall into that professionalism?
Professionalism, you mentioned the phone. You mentioned staying on task, working as a team, as a group. Having a clean station. There's all these minor points or major points at the bottom. Time management. So one of the biggest things here at TCD is there isn't a start bell and a stop bell. Not everybody gets into our class at the exact same time and the bell rings and everybody's sitting facing forward. It's a staggered schedule where 24 different schools generally, now that we're remote or hybrid, if you want to call it that, there's usually like 5 or 6 schools that are here each day. So the students are coming in from anywhere from 8 in the morning to 8:45 if they're morning students, and then we repeat that kind of 45-minute window. So the students are really in charge of their own time and kind of are autonomous in what they're doing in class. And at the end of the day, we'll sit down and just reflect and how did you manage that time? Did you come in with a sense of urgency and kind of attack the day, or did you kind of lollygag your way in and slowly get changed and slowly walk out to class? So that's one of the bigger ones that I talk through students with when we grade them at the end of the day. A lot of times, this isn't merely just here's your score, I'll see you tomorrow. It's more of a discussion with the student. How do you think you did today? And a lot of times, students are pretty honest with us. They're like, you know what? I think I gave you 75% of what I had today. That's what I deserve. And you know what? I'll be in agreement. Or some will try to maybe cheat the system and say I deserved 100 today. And I say, well, let's revisit your day and let's start at the beginning, and we talk them through it. So the daily grade sheet is really kind of a discussion. It happens pretty quickly at the end of class, but like I said, it's more of a, as we touched upon a little bit at the beginning, that reflection part. We're here to obviously help and evaluate, but the more we get the students thinking about what they're doing themselves, the better off I think the results are, the more kind of rooted they are in what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Chef said like having the recipe prepared, maybe if we asked them to do that, or watching the video the night before. So these are some things that also fall onto that. And we will, I know somebody said about talking about the kids that are completely remote. We'll talk about how that might work in a little bit. So that's kind of how they're graded. They have those 4 categories, and those 4 categories kind of come together for one grade. We really, really try to, as you're going to see, especially now with all this, kids being in and out and students being in and out, they really have to learn how to navigate on their own a lot of things. When a student walks into class, there's a whiteboard that explains to them what they have to do on a daily basis. So those are like our objectives, right? So they come in, they see what they need to do, and then they check. There's a point where they check with the chef on what they're doing. Because like Chef said, they're gathering. I mean, I might have students walking in at 8 o'clock, and some students don't walk in until 8:25. So I can't have those 8 o'clockers just standing there doing nothing. So they're getting their station ready. They're getting started on a bunch of tasks, and then they go from there. All right. So at the end, we can ask some questions about that if you have any more. Chef, you want to go back to the... All right. Once again, we're going to post this, but this will give you an idea of what our how the course is going to kind of work. Right now, they've been kind of going through some of the orientation items like sanitation, knife skills. We're going to get into measuring and measurements with them a lot more coming up. So that's something that you can maybe help us with if you think, because students struggle in this category. It is not the easiest. Some are really good at it and others struggle a lot. So we need some support, and we have a lot of different things to help students work through how to, measure properly. Because a lot of times we don't give them a recipe that says that is exactly what they need. They might have to, what we call, convert that recipe. So we kind of tell them that there's math and science and things in our program, but the great thing about them is they're applied math, right? Every day you can't measure if you don't know fractions, okay? So, when I was in math class and they told me about geometry, it was very hard for me to understand why I needed to prove that a right angle is 90 degrees, because it didn't have anything in my life to apply to me. But this math, if this is what they want to do and they're making brownies, they can't make brownies if they can't figure out how to do the math for the brownies. Then students will break into equipment, which we've started to do some already. Then they're going to get into some sustainability nutrition. And then we will go through the curriculum that is written for the dual credit and through the American Culinary Federation. They actually have standards that we need to meet to give that certification. So a standard could be soups, right? It could be that students need to understand the process of making these types of soups. So we're going to teach the process of making cream soup, a broth-based soup, a chowder, a bisque, okay? Another category might be muffins, right? So muffins, we would learn the muffin method and then make muffins with that. So a lot of things are built through methods, and then we have different recipes that go with them, okay? Now those recipes are constantly changing. And the good thing about a recipe is once you know how to saute something, and we teach the method of sauteing, you should be able to saute anything at that point to a certain extent, right? I mean, obviously there's some ins and outs of certain things. So that's a lot of information with not a lot of information, if that makes sense, because basically students will go through this curriculum and we will make sure that they're meeting these standards as they go along. There is an opportunity for them to earn another certification through ProStart. Students that actually work in the industry right now can earn that one. Or if they need basically 400 hours by the end of the summer of their senior year. Obviously, that's more difficult now because a lot of people are not working or not working as much with everything going on. But let's say they worked already, it doesn't have to be current from now. It can be past work too. And then they have to go through some of the curriculum for that. But that's going to be like a self-study opportunity for students. It's kind of like not a requirement, but almost like an extracurriculum or an honors kind of thing, okay? A student doesn't need it, but it's a bonus if they want to do it, okay?
There, as the year goes on, we will post these opportunities, all of them, on Remind. We'll post them on Schoology. It seems like we're constantly posting these opportunities, I want to say, and a small percentage of the students actually do take advantage of them. So if you're a parent sitting there wondering, what can I do? It's, hey, I saw your teacher posted this internship or job opportunity. Is that something you're interested? Or, hey, I saw this scholarship got posted this week. Did you apply for it? It's throughout the year, it seems like we're always posting opportunities. And that's as far as we can take it as the chefs. We present the opportunity, and will the students take advantage of it? Will they fill out the paperwork? Will they ask questions about it? We can only, as Chef Barker said, drop that $100 bill on the floor. We can't pick it up for them. So as a parent, if you're there and you're seeing these things come across, if you're signed up for Remind, just ask your kids about it.
And I know as a parent myself, it's sometimes difficult to get that information out of them. I get it. So please try to, get on there. You can also, anytime you'd like to, contact us about something, and we would be more than willing to try to share. But like Chef said, I just today got an opportunity for Johnson & Wales is going to have a virtual meeting and tour on their school. We're going to post it on there, and then if students want to go to that, in the evening and click on it and do it, they can, but I can't. We try to, like, for example, if a scholarship is for the cities that are like, say, Glen Ellen and blah, 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 Chef and myself might try to go find those students from the Glenbards or wherever and say, hey, can you look for that? But other than that, like Chef is 100% correct. we can only, one of my mom's favorite sayings was, you can only bring a horse to water. You can't make it drink, right? So that's what we're trying to bring us, all of us, to the water. And Chef and myself, we need to drink sometimes too. So it's not just the students. So
be careful there, Chef. And then if you aren't seeing the opportunities that you think you should be seeing, as he said, give us a call. Say, hey, this is the goal I have in mind, or my son or daughter wants to go to this school. How do we make it happen? And we can certainly talk you through how to make that happen. Hey, my son or daughter wants to get into a bakery. Where should they be looking? We can talk you through that, right? So we are here for you. If we don't have the answers, one of the best things we do is find the person that has it, right? So we'll be the first to admit that, hey, I know nothing about that. Let us find the person that's going to give you the right answer.
And like I just saw it, and we'll go through a lot of these things at the end real quick, but Ellie just posted she applied. That's great. Actually, the person that's in charge of Johnson Wales is one of our alumni that's like in charge of that process. So the other thing I will tell you is like Chef said, we will help, we will try to guide, but I will never say that JW or CIA or College of DuPage or whatever is the school for your student. I will say, these are the opportunities. This is what this one offers. I don't like to get into the, hey, you know what? Because you know what? Every school is different for every student. Some students, I went to community colleges and then went on to some other schools. Chef Nooner went to the Culinary Institute of America. We both got to the same place and we're both very successful. It's just different routes of getting places. So. All right, Chef, next. Did that one. These are opportunities that have happened that I don't know if they're going to happen in the past, in this year, unfortunately, but this is where we talked about a culinary competition club. A hospitality club was one where we used to like offer students the ability to get together. They join a club. We come up with activities like whether it be go to a restaurant and try a different type of food, visit the College of DuPage and see it. Those kind of things. And then the last one was we usually do a foundation dinner, which happened usually in March. But last year, unfortunately, we had to cancel right before the dinner. So we had all this stuff ready to kind of go, and then this all hit. So as of right now, it doesn't look good for some of these things, but that doesn't mean we can't find a way to make something work, whether it be virtual or whatever else. Or if things change and somehow later after spring, the numbers start changing and we're allowed to do more of this stuff, we're going to do it. I think that's the biggest thing. We want the students to have as many opportunities as they can. And I hope you're kind of getting that from us. That's our goal, is to try to give them the opportunities we were given. You know, I'm where I'm at because of culinary competitions. I'll tell you right now. If I didn't compete on culinary teams, I would probably not be teaching right now. But because I competed and I did these things, I networked and met these people and did all these things. That's how I got into this. So.
And while the Culinary Competition Club and the Foundation Dinner have kind of a past and a history of what they look like, the Hospitality Club has always been kind of evolving and can look and be whatever the students who sign up for, or in this case would kind of initiate. So if we got enough students that got together and said, hey, we want to have some sort of club for this class, we want to do extra things, that would kind of be a self or a student developed idea. So if I believe it's 6 or 8 students we need to create this club, Once the club is created, they would create the kind of mission of the club, what's the idea behind the club, and the chef or myself would simply help facilitate that. So in the past, it's looked like we've got some students that want to just explore this industry. So it's kind of a, hey, let's all get together, we'll fundraise or find a way to go out to dinner and we'll explore a new cuisine. And then we'll come back and maybe try some of those recipes. Or, hey, let's go to a market that we're not used to, maybe like H Mart, or we'll say the Patel Brothers, or some sort of cuisine that we're not used to every day. Let's go to those markets. Let's come back and try to try some of those ingredients and put together some recipes. So I guess what I'm getting is that hospitality club in this virtual world can be very adaptive. If students got together and said, hey, we want to have some sort of club, let's do it. Chef and myself are on board. We present that idea to the administration and they say whether or not it can happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that they did work at food shelters before in the past. There's a lot of things that can be done. So once again, like Chef said, it's just an extracurricular kind of activity. So these are some of those things that you kind of need to understand. And if you don't understand, you can ask the student, or you can contact us. But Schoology, we do use the Google Drive a little bit. And then Parent Connect is our online grade book. Every one of your schools have all kinds of their own. The school sends the grades to them, but they do not break them down usually. It's just, and I don't know when they update them, but we have to update at least once a week. And the students were given a username and password, and they should be able to pull up their grade at any point and see how they're doing. If we probably on almost a daily basis or a couple times a week walk the students through their grades, especially since we've been remote. Like, hey, why are you not doing this? What is going on? But Chef's been printing sheets that show their grades on them, and then he's handing them to the students like, okay, you need to get this done. So
it's my understanding that parents have their own username and password for this, and we're mailed it in the summer or at the beginning of the year. If you don't have that, you can reach out and I can get you that information. A quick note on the grades. In the past, we would collect physical assignments from the students and we had them kind of all in one place. Now that we are in a virtual world, I can collect assignments from Remind, from email, directly to Schoology, through a third-party website that's hosting the grades like ServeSafe or SB2. So there is a chance that the grades that are shown don't reflect their actual score at that time. So if the grade looks bad for some reason, there's a chance we simply haven't collected it from one of those 5 potential places that we're getting grades from. So we are, as we get them, if I get an email from a student that here's my assignment, I try to put it in right away. If they send it to me over the weekend, it might take me until Monday to do that. But we're trying to keep the grades up to date as often as possible. You can certainly look there if there's ever any questions, or if the student feels like they turned something in and we misplaced it, they can certainly send us a copy of what they've already turned in. Luckily, in this online world, everything that they turn in has some sort of timestamp on it, whether it's an email, a picture. And so there is no, hey, I put my homework in the basket and now it's gone, right? So it is all there we are trying to process it as soon as we can and stay up to date. But if there's any ever questions, just call before we freak out and ground a kid for the weekend or something like that.
And we do, like Chef said, we have made mistakes. I can tell you that it happens, just like anything else. My 11-year-old, she checks her grades all the time. She found out there was a mistake and she was emailing her teacher right away. I'm like, wait a second, make sure you say that in a nice way, So we do make mistakes. We do, so stay on top of it. One thing we didn't mention during the grading is when it comes to the grading of things, basically we have a due date a lot of times, and then from there it'll go down a letter grade per day late. But a student can turn anything in if they turn it in properly for up to 50% whenever they turn it in. So let's say that they didn't do the best, or they didn't turn it in on time, they can still do it and get the best. Also, we communicate to all students about, students have different learning, whether it be IEPs or different things like that. We offer all of our students the ability, if they come to us and say, what, Chef, this week I've got a busy work week, or I'm, helping my brother get through his school at home too. Can I have an extra day? Not a problem. But they got to just communicate to us and say, hey, Chef, I need a little extra time. I'm behind. I'm overwhelmed. All right. I'm going to click. I think there's one more screen on this one. Then we can get to a few questions. So our time is good. These are just a few things. TCD's website will have some of the school information on it when it comes to policies. Most of those policies are the same you've heard for years. When it comes to our rules and things, they're mostly dictated by the health department. So I know we didn't spend a lot of time on this, but we can post some of that stuff in a folder in orientation, and the students will go through it. But for example, piercings and things like that, that's something that we cannot change. So please do not, I know it can be expensive and this or that, and please do not decide on a day that we're going to pierce our nose and I can't take that out. Well, the health department says the only jewelry we can have in the kitchen is a single plain band. So that's the rules. Chef Nooner and myself don't make these rules up. That's the rules that guide them, and the health department comes in at least twice a year. I would assume with everything else that's going on, we're going to see them maybe more than that. So some of these things like acrylic nails and things like that, they just can't have. If obviously we know if prom is happening or whatever else, we have to figure out a way to give a little lenience to that. But a lot of times students are like, well, I need to keep these on for a week or so because mom said they're so expensive. Well, maybe we need to not get that expensive of nails for that. Maybe we just do more of a regular nail. Because this is all, I hate this talking to a student about some of this stuff. It's not rules that we make up, okay? So some of those things are going to be dictated through just health department and things like that. They all should have got their uniforms already. For the students that are remote only, we are going to we need to set up a time for you to come in and get those uniforms because they have uniforms still here. And they're uniforms to use. Maybe that's one way we can talk about how to do some of that professionalism by getting them to put it on every once in a while they're making something maybe and send us a picture or something like that too. So we can talk more about that. Purchase black non-slip shoes. These shoes need to be kitchen shoes. They can't be tennis shoes. They can't be cloth shoes. Chef Nooner's showing you one that is there. There is multiple variations. if you go to Walmart or Target, you can buy them for $15, $20. You don't have to buy a majorly expensive pair of shoes. Okay. They're going to get dirty. They're going to get greasy. And the reason why we have them is there will be grease on the floor at times, water spilt on, and we don't want to get anybody hurt. But they do need to be all black, non-skid, non-slip. If there's a question about them, have them bring them in or send us a picture before they rip off all the tags, and you can't maybe return them at that point.
I think we're going to give the students plenty of time to make that happen, to get to the store over the weekend, next week. If that becomes an issue and you can't get to the store, we've secured a couple dozen pairs, and we have for sale $14, just the bare bones of the non-slip shoes. So $14, and we've got most sizes if it's an issue to get to the store.
All right. And then I know somebody already said it. We're going to try to go through a few of these questions. But if you have to, leave for some reason because you have another commitment or whatever, you can. We won't take offense. We're going to try to, like I said, we will post this with some more information as we go. But we do appreciate everybody that did showing up. Like Chef and myself have said many times, we try to build a community and a family here. That's our goal. Our goal is that alumni is my success. That's my story every year that I teach, right? Every year I get more and more of them that come back and help and do things. I get phone calls and things, and you know what, Chef, hey, I finally 10 years down the road, I've opened my own restaurant, or I'm a chef, a sous chef. So it's very important to us. So thank you with that. Jeff, you want to scroll up to these questions and let's try to kind of fly through a few of them. I know there's a few we've already hit and a few of them that we just need to hit.
I think I've answered all of them. I think it might just be better if we do have a question to open the floor.
There's at least.
I mean, there might be one. That person could simply ask it again. This additional uniform, I would say yes, but not through me. If you want to purchase an additional uniform, I can give you the contact for that person.
All right, we looked. I swear I couldn't find an answer. Is there class this Thursday? The homeschool is closed. What school is that? North? Which North? Glenbard, Wheaton? I'm sorry, there's a lot of them. Naperville? Is that Naperville North? Naperville, sorry. I can look right now, see if TC DePage.
What are you trying to figure out? I probably have quicker access to it here, Chef.
Is Naperville North supposed to come to school on Thursday?
Oh, this Thursday. I believe Naperville is Teacher Institute Day. Is that why we have the question? Yeah, so when it comes to that, if the sending school doesn't have school, then normally the students aren't required to come to TCD. We often simplify it and say if they send a bus, you should be on the bus. If that doesn't apply, we always refer back to the home school. If a student wants to come on a day that their school isn't here, there's a process for that where they talk to our office and the sending school office just to make sure the liability is where it needs to be. But if they don't have school, generally the rule is don't come to TCD. But they can if they want, but there's a process, and that process usually takes a day or two to complete.
And then like Columbus Day, our TCD is closed for sure. As far as the fully remote learners, how they're going to be graded, obviously we've started to put up, like I said, the recipes and some videos on things that we've made or what we're making in class. I've offered 2 different systems for that as of right the second one. If you can get the ingredients, you can pick them up and the student can make it and send us a picture of them. Or we can, I know I posted the other day that you could come and we could probably make a bag up of some of the ingredients that we have available for that. As far as when it comes to the professionalism idea of that, I think Chef and myself, this is really new. We're going to have to think about how we're going to grade more on those things. I do apologize right now when it comes to the remote learners. We are not, we are working our way through it. As far as synchronized learning goes with the fully remote learners, we are supposed to have a camera system that is being put in that we can do maybe more of a live learning video, but almost all the students that are coming even in live, I guess we could say in person, what we're doing is Chef and myself are making a video, and then we are referring the students to that video because we can't really we are trying not to distance ourselves from them, which is very difficult right now, which we are trying to do our best when it comes to safety and not safety when it comes to using a knife. So for example, we were told that we're not supposed to really get within 6 feet, and the students are not really get within 6 feet of it. If we notice a student is doing something that is not safe, we are going to go in and stop that process. We will train them on how to do it properly, but from a distance, it's very hard to do that sometimes. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to put up videos that then a student, we can say, all right, go grab the Chromebook, watch this couple-minute clip again on how to hold the knife or how to do this item, and then let's do it. As far as synchronized for remote only, our goal at some point is obviously to try to maybe, if we're making a soup or something, to possibly have for sure the camera going, have it on maybe a couple screens in the kitchen, and then that could be live. But we are learning as we go on some of these kind of things like that. Wednesdays will always be we will have 2 meetings live meaning Google Meets every Wednesday, one at 9 and one at 1. A student is not required to come to both. We're trying to get a student to come to one of those. And during that time, we will also be able to answer any questions and maybe do some, as we continue this process, as it goes along, do more lectures and short like reviews of materials that we're going over. So I don't know if that answered 100% your question. How will the remote? We will always post the day before for sure if we plan on doing that, which obviously I'd like to try to do that somewhat. I do feel like I want to try to give the same experience to all students. It's just really difficult for us to try to figure this out as we go. But I promise that we are working on doing our best. And that's why on an average, the Wednesday sessions will go probably around half hour to an hour at the longest. As far as
another added challenge to the synchronous learning here is our class is about 2.5 hours here, where we have students coming and going. The kitchen is ginormous. If there was just a camera set up above the entire class, it might not take the whole picture a student would need. So therefore, really, we're only looking to post us doing that cooking at one point, kind of during a demo, which we're doing, like Chef mentioned earlier, for every student, whether they're here or at home. We're posting the videos of the demonstration. There's just not one good spot to put a camera in the kitchen that could capture all of what we're doing, and it would look kind of crazy with students just walking everywhere and running everywhere.
But what we can do is, if a student that is either remote or in person needs some extra training on something, we can for sure work more individually with that student on whatever that might be. We just need to figure out a way to get that communicated to us. As far as, like, I know the question, and Chef said he can't speculate on increasing the in-person days. Right now, things are fluid. I know that Chef said there was a meeting today at our school talking about the homeschools are starting to go back to their schedules. So if you could take a second and think about this, basically we have 28 different districts that are making changes to their schedule that are then interrupting what we've already got set. So what we're trying to do is, the school in general is trying to adapt to make the experience the best for students. But some schools are only doing students in the AM, like they're closing school at noon. So like right now, our AM students, we have like a day where they're also trying to keep the load. Like our busiest day that we have students right now is probably like 25 students on a day between Chef and myself, which we're able to, for the most part right now, keep them spread apart, 6 feet when it comes to equipment and those other things. But as Chef was pulling up, I have 2 students on Monday in the afternoon only, because all the schools, a lot of the big districts are sending kids in the morning only. So some of this we don't have control over when they come. And actually, Chef and myself never have control over that. That's going to be between our administration and the school's administration. Trust me, I'm happy to be back with students. I wish I could click my heels together and I would have students 5 days a week and be able to not have to go figure this out. But I don't know. We're living, unfortunately, in a world right now that is ever changing with this stuff. So we are trying to do our best, and I hope you can understand that. And if you have any suggestions, please shoot them out. If you notice that another teacher is doing something that you think is working great, we ask the students all the time to do those kinds of things. We will try to adapt to what we're doing. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? We're more than willing to try to answer some of these. And like I said, some of them we just don't know the answer, and we can try to get the answer to. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. We do. A Chef and myself were talking about it. We have students that are very excited to be here, and they are really nice. And you guys have done a good job of raising them. So that is a very good thing. So we do, Chef and myself, knock on wood. I know it's still early, but everybody seems to want to learn and be here. And that's why I have stayed here at this school for so long.
20 years.
20 years. Is that crazy or what?
I'm
I know
in.
it's amazing the 20 years and I'm only 32. I don't know how that works out.
32.
Don't look at my my hairline, please. Anything else for the good of the cause? We are very, very, like I said, responsive. Please email is usually the easiest. We can figure out a way to, contact you. For sure on the phone if you want to talk that way, not a problem. You can see that sometimes we are sending out progress reports. Don't get completely freaked out. If you see one of them, they are a progress report. And sometimes by the time I send it to the office and then they send it out, the student has already found a way to get themselves caught back up by our help and your help. So
to explain that, we'll print a progress report on a Tuesday morning. We'll show it to the student when they come in. We'll get them working on the work they need to catch up on. It's our job to then still send it out. It goes to the office. The office has 2 signatures on it, and then it gets sent out in the mail. There's a step that it goes through. So by the time you get it, it might even be out of date. So if you ever have questions, the phone is obviously the most immediate and just immediate answer to anything. So,
check the grade, like I said, and then the phone call will work great too.
I think most of you that are here, I'm not going to guess, but if you're here, that's because your student in general is pretty responsible. They told you that you should be here during this time, and you're already on top of it, and there should be no worries. We'll get through anything we need to.
Very true. Very true.
So we appreciate you being here. We hope we gave you some good information. We want to respect your time. We did say kind of 6 to 7 for that. We'll stick around a little bit to answer any questions, but again, we just need to be respectful of your time and let you go get dinner ready or pick up dinner or whatever you need to do there. So we can keep rambling forever, but at some point we got to just call this here. So not to be short or anything, but just to be respectful of your time. If you have questions, we'll stick around.
Ms. Cole, as far as the dual credit goes, as of right now, especially since Thomas is just remote, the College of DuPage credit, when I do offer that class later, it's going to probably happen in the spring. There will be information about that. Okay. As far as the Joliet Junior College information you guys have received, I would just hold off on it right now. Nobody is behind. I need to contact them again and find out how we are going to handle if we're going to be able to give out that credit. I do know that the manager's class through the College of DuPage will happen, and it will probably happen in the spring semester. Okay. But like I said, they sent that stuff out without, we have a new person handling the back part of the dual credit, and they sent out stuff kind of without us really knowing what. So I understand where it can be kind of confusing. If there is anything else, please let us know. If not, have a great evening. And it was nice to see some faces, some smiling faces.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Anthony, buddy.
Who's your favorite chef, Anthony?
Uh-oh.
Both.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Both.
Okay, good.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Cole. All right. Good night. Anybody else? Nope. Good to go. Chef, you have a great evening, too.
I might as well just stick around. Oh, no, we don't have school tomorrow. Let me, this is
Stop
recording.
taping.
This is recording. How do I, there we go. Stop recording.